All right. Hi. I haven't streamed in quite a while, and I thought since I have a moment, I would give it a shot and test it out because I have a better setup, you could say. And I'm going to move over here. There, I'm better situated. So here, as you can see from the reference picture, is the beloved Mr. Rogers. I used to watch Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood as a child when I lived in the States, back when I was an itty-bitty child. However, he really marked my childhood. I remember him fondly. And lately I have been creating digital art that is NFT related, you could say, and I just thought Mr. Rogers would be perfect for it. So since I've been neglecting my YouTube channel, I thought, why don't I do an NFT and see how it goes online. So here I am. I already did, let me show you guys how it all started. So here is the sketch. Hold on. I see something here and I would like to change it. Yeah, I'm going to move myself over here. I think that's better. Yeah. So here is the sketch. I do it always in blue pencil, and the pencil that I use, I can show you guys, is the it's from Max Pack. Where is it? Well, it's here, my favorites. It's the Max Pack U600 series pencil. That's the one that I use. I love it. It's one of my favorites. It's what I always use when I'm going to create a sketch. And I have a paper texture on there from, it's not Max Pack. It is, let me see, True Grit. It's from True Grit. And this one, man, I don't remember. But it's just a cream watercolor paper because I just love the texture. It makes me feel like I'm actually drawing on paper, and just psychologically, mentally, does something for me. So this is so far what I did as the first. I'm looking at the picture and I'm just going about, and I'm like zooming in to get really in there and to do the eye. Then after I've done this, I go in and do some line art because I wasn't sure at the beginning if I wanted to do anything with black or if I just wanted to leave it with pencil. I did want the pencil to remain, but I wasn't sure. So I did a bit of the line art. I'm not done yet. So far I've only done the face. As you can see, I stopped here with the neck because I wanted to move on, and I go back and forth. Then I added his face color because I've been doing this kind of theme. There could be a story there, but I haven't really created the story yet. And it's called the Ethereum Realm, where Ethereum is an actual physical space within the universe. And I'm just adding all of this sci-fi, fantasy lore, you could say, into this realm. I don't know if that really explains it, but that's what I'm creating. So his skin color is green, obviously, because he's a Mr. Rogers, but for an alien world. And then once I did the face color, I was thinking of backgrounds, and lately the colors that I've been using for all of these digital Ethereum NFT illustrations has been purple, pink, green, blue, and yellow. Those are the colors that I've been using. So I did a mixture of a dark blue with a purple, a vibrant purple, and and in lavender, and then I mixed them. And I used the risograph, one of the risograph paintbrushes. So that's what I have so far. And then I was starting to add some of the Ethereum logo onto his clothing, and that's what I'm at. So I thought it would be the perfect time to do a test live stream on YouTube, just to see how it's going. And so let's continue, shall we? Feel free to write any messages to me. I have the dashboard here open so I can see if anyone is writing any messages. But join me as I continue. If you want, before I continue, actually, I can show you guys some of the illustrations that I've done. So this was the first one that I did. It is like the guardian of Ethereum. I wanted this character to look very plastic-like, very translucent, metallic, very much like a cyborg robot AI type creature holding the Ethereum, as if they were guarding it and trying to transport it to its actual place. So that was like the idea behind this illustration. And I just found a pose. How it all came about was that I found a pose on Pinterest. That's where I find a lot of my references, Pinterest. And so I found this really cool anatomical pose, and I was just drawing, and then all of a sudden, this idea came about because I've been very interested in NFTs, as everyone has pretty much. So I thought, perfect, NFTs, digital, AI, let's create something. So that was the first illustration. Then I created this one, which is of a guardian. I wanted to start creating kind of like the mythology of the Ethereum realm. This sounds very out there. So again, I wanted to use these purples and vibrant colors and add the Ethereum symbol somewhere within the illustration. So I always want it somewhere, even if it's minuscule, but I want it somewhere. And so it's just dangling from his ear. And I wanted this character to really embody the sense of like spirituality, angelic, mystical. And this wasn't really planned. It was just coming about in one of my nightly drawing sessions, and that's what it was. But again, you can see the pinks and the purples and the blues and the greens and the yellows. It's the same color theme with that. And I really like how these star bits came about. I really, really like that. The third one was a cicada. I love drawing insects. I absolutely love it. They're like my favorite thing to do. I have so many insect illustrations that I have done. I just love looking at their anatomy and the shapes that composes their body and their structure and their exoskeleton. And so the cicada has these beautiful large wings and this nice chubby body. They're kind of cute, even though I would not want to touch one. But on paper, I find them very cute. And from the body comes hanging these Ethereum symbols. And on the bodice, you can see right there in the middle, there is a little bit of the Ethereum symbol right there. Again, with the pinks and the blues and the oranges, still the theme is there. Then I created an alien, kind of like, my idea of this one was like a high priest maybe, because Ethereum is obviously a realm where spirituality is very important, at least their spirituality. And so she has this uniform, and I just was playing around, and I made an alien face. And of course, my aliens have to be purple, because I love purple. It's one of my favorite colors. And she's holding the Ethereum. I'm still working on the idea of of the story. But those are the, oh no, and here's another one. Again, very spiritual in nature. I don't know what I could say about this one, to tell you the truth. It's kind of like Tron inspired, where they're within a computer's digital space. So that's why you can see the perspective lines. And it is an alien creature with 5 faces that are all connected with different colored hair. And they're in a very like yoga pose, and they have 4 arms, and there is water flowing from this other existence that's within them. And you see flowers growing around, and Ethereum floating in the background. I still have to really contemplate, but this was another late night illustration where I was just having fun. So those are the ones that I have so far. And so today I wanted to create an Ethereum Mr. Rogers, obviously. So let's get into it. Why don't we? Because let's get into it. So right now I'm no longer using my my pencil, but instead I have this Risograph brush set that I bought on the Creative Market, I believe. Yeah, I believe it's the Creative Market. I love this brush set. And within this brush set, not only does it have like Risograph texture brushes, which are really cool to play with. Like I use the flat dark Riso brush always for like backgrounds. It gives this really nice gritty texture. But I use the Squid Ink Mono Weight brush a lot, because I just love how it interacts, and it has a very even coloring, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what to call it. So so I'm just going to create some of the patterns of the Ethereum as we go. It's funny how these things that you never think about all of a sudden pop up in your mind. Like I haven't thought about Mr. Rogers. I couldn't even tell you when was the last time that I thought about Mr. Rogers. But I felt the need to just look online to see what there was, to see if maybe I could find one of the older episodes, to see what it was like to watch him as an adult. And it was interesting. I mean, I don't know if anyone outside of the United States is familiar with Mr. Rogers, but he was a very, it was a children's show that was all about making a child feel important and enough and loved and cared, and also explained how things worked. Like there was one episode on YouTube that I watched, which was him getting a vaccine. Perfect for right now with the COVID vaccine. And so it's just him going to the hospital because he had made an appointment to get his vaccine for the flu shot, actually. And him sitting in the waiting room and him explaining that there's a different waiting room for children and there's another waiting room for adults. And then he was talking about the different things that you can do in the waiting room. Then he went into the room with the nurse and was explaining how vaccines work and why it's important to have a vaccine. So it's a very educational show. The pacing is nice and slow. It's because nowadays, if you compare it to children's shows, they're faster in their speeding, and I just find it to be too much. I don't like them. I prefer the older shows from like the 80s, the 70s, the 90s even. I don't like the newer ones. They're all just too much for me. So so it was nice, and I could feel. I was very touched by seeing Mr. Rogers again. because as a little, I would say like a 4-year-old, I remember watching Mr. Rogers and just feeling so content, so content. He has such a soothing voice, and his stories are just so relaxing. So, yeah, and I don't know why, I just thought that Mr. Rogers was an entity that needed to also exist within Ethereum. But I believe he has his spot there, because who doesn't need a Mr. Rogers person in all realms? Because he's such a caring human being. There was also another video that I watched of his where he was singing the song of accepting others despite their differences. And this boy in a wheelchair that had physical disabilities was also singing with him that it doesn't matter. What matters is that you're a human being and you should just be loved and respected like any other human being. And then the clip went to 20 years later when he was getting an award, and this same person came on stage, the boy in a wheelchair, was now a man in a wheelchair, and was coming up to say that he liked him just as he was as well, just for being him. Oh, it was so moving. Like, even just thinking about it, it brings tears to my eyes. And you could see everyone in the audience was crying because it was just so moving. Because the moment that Mr. Rogers saw this man come on stage, he immediately jumped from his seat onto the stage to say hello to him. That was his magic. He dedicated his time in that moment to make you feel special. I believe he said in one interview on Charlie Rose that he wanted to give attention gracefully, graceful attention, which was when he's with someone, he wanted that person to know that he was fully there paying attention to that person. Not just like half, but no, fully, completely in the moment. And it was just, I mean, could you imagine if people were like that? If people were to give you their full and honest attention in that moment, look at you straight into the eyes, and keep their focus completely on you in that moment, you would feel amazing. You would feel that you truly matter. Versus, them being on their phones or saying, oh yeah, and this reminds me of this, or oh, you know what? I'm hungry. I don't know. These are bad examples. I can't come up with anything else. But to truly be there in that moment for that person, that has so much value. And it's a shame that these type of programs aren't really shown to children now, because children really need to feel important. Oh, it's fundamental that they feel that they can be themselves without any judgment, that they can like whatever they want to like, that they can voice their questions and not made to feel stupid. That creates a very stable and self-assured human being. They feel like they're enough if they're taught that from the beginning. So, why not add a Mr. Rogers to the digital realm? And I'm certain that other cultures had someone similar to Mr. Rogers. I know since I lived in Germany for so long, the kids would always watch Löwenzahn. And I also watched Löwenzahn when I was trying to learn German. And it was so soothing. Oh, so soothing. Nice and slow paced. And I'm talking about the newer ones. The older ones were really nice with, I forget what his name is. but those that don't speak German, Löwenzahn is the dandelion. And that show would have a theme and explain it thoroughly. And it would be this man that lived in a blue wagon with a dog, Keks, cookies in German. And he would go to a museum if he found a fossil. And then the person at the museum who was his friend would explain the history or what the fossil was. And it would always be a different subject. And it was so much fun. And they show it usually on Sundays. And there are several programs on Sundays on the children's channel called Cicada. So there was Löwenzahn, there was Sendung mit der Maus. I think it was first Sendung mit der Maus, then Löwenzahn, and then there would always be a fairy tale. And despite me not being a huge fan of TV, especially not for kids, I would always watch those 3 episodes on a Sunday because it would be the special day. And Sendung mit der Maus is this little blue elephant and the gray mouse. And they would also be teaching children about different topics. And it could be anything of how gummy bears are made. And then you would be shown the factory and all the machinery that's used, the different processes that they go about to make the gummy bears, how they make the different colors, how they package them, how the packaging looks in different lands, everything, the ingredients that they use. And then there would be little animated stories in between, and there used to be, usually there was a Sandman, which was a non-verbal story of just this little puppet, which was the Sandman, which would bring children to sleep, going to different locations. But there would just be different things, just small little skits. It was very enjoyable. And then there was always Löwenzahn, and then to end the Sunday viewing, you would watch an old Märchen or fairy tale. And I'm very nostalgic, I guess, because I love these old movies because they were made maybe in the 60s, 50s, 70s, 80s. They have this nice, slow pacing to them. And it was fun. And in Germany, there are so many fairy tales. And you learn a lot. You learn a lot about different cultures if you were to read their folk and their myths and their legends. You learn a lot because that's like the handbook of what they believe and what they're afraid of are in these stories. All right, so now that I have given you this nice chat on what I used to watch in Germany, I'm done with the symbols of Ethereum on his jacket. He would always wear a red sweater, not a blue sweater, a red sweater. I'm contemplating if I want it to be red or if I want it to be blue. I'm not certain. Or it could be like a gray translucent, not a translucent one, but like a, what is that called? Like holographic type jacket. I think I'll do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the watercolor brush that I really enjoy using, which is from the Max Pack, and it's the Flow Round. And I'm going to go into my palettes. Let's see. I'm going to grab this one. Okay. I'm going to grab this bluish gray. Let's see which. I'm going to create another layer. I'm just going to start filling it in. And I don't mind that I have areas where it looks like I stopped painting, kind of like with real watercolors. I'm going to be blending that because I don't want that texture there, but I'll be doing that later. I like this color. So I've been also working on different projects. I mean, this is just something that if I have an idea, I will work on it, but I don't force myself. And I think that's the key with having creative projects. I think it's good to have several. And I'm going to select everything else except for what I just painted so it's easier to blend and then I don't have to erase. And to do that, you just go into the layer and you tap on it. And then you have this menu that you see here, and then you can just pick select. It's a very cool little trick. Okay, so I did that. That looks good. But now I'm going to add the colors. So again, I'm going to select it. I'm going to create a new layer because I'm not quite certain how I want to go about it. So I'm going to play around a bit. I don't know if I want purple. Let's see, I'm just going to play around a bit. So I'm going to make the brush a bit smaller, but I'm going to continue to use, I'm not going to use this brush. I'm going to change to another one of my favorite brushes. So there's like a whole set of brushes that I always use. I don't really switch them out. These are my go-to brushes. So it's the slow round brush. There's the pencil. Then in the rusty nib, there's the rusty nib 5 that I use for my line art. And then the risograph, the ink mono weight, the flat riso. And then when I want to use like a colored pencil, but I want more of a waxy type feel, I use the Max U colored pencil. This brush is superb. I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. It has that nice waxy feel. Oh, it's amazing. I think I like that. Oops. I think that's good. Yeah. So I wonder who's watching this stream with me, because I can see here on the dashboard that there's some people that's watching, and I would love to know who it is. So if you are not too shy, why don't you write in the comments where you are. I wonder if it's my stalker. I do have a stalker, unfortunately. There's this person that always likes to keep tabs on what I'm doing. I used to see it as an annoyance, but now it doesn't really bother me. You say at least someone's watching, right? All right, I think that's looking good. Yeah, I like that. Now I'm going to grab the blue. Let's just add color. Blue. I just want to have some fun with this. This orange looks nice. Oh no, that's too much. There, that's there's a point when you're drawing that you get so absorbed. You know, it's funny. I don't know how the weather is where everyone else is, but here, the day started out quite gray. Then the sun came out. Then it started raining. Then it started hailing. And then the sun came out and was beautifully warm. And we went to walk at one of the beaches that are close by. I live next to the ocean, so we have several beaches that are within 10, 15 minutes. And it was just so funny to go from one extreme to the other. And so when I went to the beach, I had my jacket on and a scarf thinking, oh, well, it just hailed. It's going to be pretty cold. No, the sun was out and it was nice and warm and people were having picnics on the rocks. It was really nice. It was truly nice. Now I'm thinking I'm going to want to put this on top. Yeah, that was better. I moved the Ethereum to the top part. It looks more realistic. So here with the jacket or sweater, I have zero plan. I'm just grabbing a color from this palette and having fun. So here's a recommendation for anyone that is on Netflix. There is this show that they recently put up. However, I'm in Europe, so I don't know if you guys will have the same one, but it's called The Serpent. And if you are a fan of true crime, I would definitely give it a watch. It's a very good show. I've enjoyed it immensely. I love watching all these true crimes because it's just so like, oh, this actually happened. Oh my God. But I'm a big fan of documentaries. I love documentaries. Pretty much about anything. Good documentary is always good. I've been watching several documentaries lately. Oh, but another thing that I found in talking about nostalgia is when I couldn't, when I would wake up super early as a kid, I would quietly sneak into the TV room and I would put on Nick at Night. And so I would watch all these old black and white shows. And one of the shows was The Munsters. Oh my God, I love that show. And I was lucky enough to find several of them on YouTube. And it was really cool to watch. Really, really cool. I'm going to do this darker here because it is the tie. My daughter was watching Mr. Rogers with me today. That's when I looked for today. That's where this idea came from. And she said, oh, did he just come back from work? Because he's wearing a tie. And I said, I don't think so. It's just that back then, that's how men dressed. They always wore ties. My grandfather always had a tie on. Always. There were no exceptions. None. And if he wasn't wearing a tie, then he would take his tie off and still have a button-up shirt. Always. I think that's looking pretty cool. And I'm going to change this to multiply. Yeah. Oh, I like it. I think it's turning out really cool. I'm going to add this vibrant blue. Because why not? Why not? Yeah. I like that a lot. So the only thing with this pencil brush is that it's really large. It's really, really large. Oh no. Oh yeah. That's cool. I'm going to do that again. Put down here. The folds. Oh, and this aquamarine with the coral looks great. Oh, look at that. And look how it blends so nicely. Look at that. Oh, so neat. But I'm missing yellow. I love yellow. Such a good color. Maybe I'll add some yellow back here. It stands out. Yeah. Just put here. Coming down and here. That was cool. I'll add some yellow in here. I'm such a nerd. It's exciting me. Okay. All right. That looks really good. I really, really like that. Now I just need to contemplate what I want to do to his hair and his eyes, and potentially his background. But it's looking really cool. I'm going to try something. So go back here, and I'm going to select the background, and I'm going to grab I have another watercolor brush that I do use, but not as frequently, because if you use it too much, it's just overkill. And that is, which one is it again? It's this one. I believe it's this one. Let's see. I think I want to do blue. I think I want to do blue. Let's see. Start with these. Do that cloud. Yeah. Mhm. I know when you're streaming, you're not supposed to be quiet. It's just sometimes you get so absorbed in what you're doing. Love the combination of colors. Yeah, I like that. so cool. I mean, I don't know what other people are going to think, but I just think this is amazing. This is so awesome. Okay, now let's add some, and go back to my risograph squid ink. That looks amazing. That looks amazing. I still haven't posted any of these NFTs, except for like Instagram and Twitter, because I'm still trying to understand. I'm still trying to read about it and look at the different websites and the different requirements, and really understand it until I put it out there. But this is just so cool. So I'm going to do... Oh, and I can hear that the family has arrived. So I'm going to have to end this live stream. Thank you so much for joining. Bye.